Good morning, I'm Wendy Burke, and this is the CBC Morning Report for Tuesday, September 6. In our top story, investments in the country is what is being looked at to bring greater economic fortunes and facilitate greater trade options for local businesses. The recent Africa-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum is likely to facilitate this. And joining us to paint the picture of how large the investment can be is Minister for Economic Affairs and Investment, Ryan Strawn. Good morning to you, Minister Strawn.
Good morning, Wendy. Good morning to your listeners.
Now, given the... Yes, go ahead.
No, I was saying, given the visit of the president of the African Exim Bank last year, we had an initial pledge of $250 million to start the relationship. And coming out of this forum, the bank has committed to increasing that by a further $750 million, which means that overall, once we get these structures in place, we have available immediately up to $1 billion, which will be available for all businesses in Barbados as well as across the region.
Okay. Now, in terms of those businesses, are there any specific ones which they want to see driving the economies? I know there were a number of interesting and innovative businesses they're showcasing, but are there any specifics that they want to hone in on?
Well, it is quite broad-based, Wendy. We already have on the ground in Africa at the moment, specifically in Kenya, designers seeking to ensure then that they can get the right logistics chain and manufacturers and supply to be, and this is from Barbados specifically. We also looking at how we can support African businesses in the same way that we have supported Canadian businesses and American businesses right here in Barbados with our talent pool. And therefore we are in Barbados are encouraging African businesses to headquartered in Barbados in order to be able to support, to get the same level of support that other companies have had over the years. We've seen quite a bit of interest in fintech and digital payments and the like, which we, as you know, are seeking to ensure that we can elevate and digitize our economies. And therefore, it is quite broad-based at the moment. We've seen interest in agriculture and manufacturing as well to be able to access their markets. And therefore, the financing architecture is being put in place to be able to facilitate that.
That was going to be my next question. How far along are we in terms of ensuring that that platform is solid?
Right, so we signed the MOU obviously to establish the relationship with the bank. As you heard, the bank will be establishing a branch in the region to be able to help fast track and facilitate interactions with businesses right here in Barbados and across CARICOM. And therefore, just a year ago, we had started the conversation. We've had this very significant conference last week, which from all the feedback from our participants from many countries in Africa, as well as participants from the Caribbean, we've seen lots of connections made because of those interactions. And therefore, it is up to us now as Barbadians, up to us as Caribbean people to make real the link. We have seen significant movement within the context of the finance side of the economy. Credit unions representatives were actually in Africa at the time and Swaziland, being able to push forward the agenda in order to make sure then that we can make the connections, as I said, real with respect to ordinary Barbadians. And there will be tremendous opportunity for investment, both collectively as well as individually, and therefore we want to make sure that we have the right architecture in place to be able to have funds flow back and forth. Obviously, establishment of the direct flights will be a critical part of that, because once people can move, cargo can move, and then obviously we'll be able then to see more and more opportunities being opened up.
Okay, outside of the flights, can we see any other tourism prospects? Do they have any interest in investing in our hotel sector, anything of the like?
Of course, and as you know, we've had, just before the pandemic, we had a tourism investment conference. There is tremendous interest in that space. There's also tremendous interest in being able to build out the medical infrastructure. As you know, Barbados has a long history of providing healthcare, not just for its citizens, but certainly for citizens across the Eastern Caribbean as well as globally. And therefore, there is tremendous interest within that space. And therefore, to be able to support Africans coming to Barbados either for education, for tourism, investment purposes, or for medical purposes. Those are the types of initial discussions that we will have around who to target and to move. And therefore, as we understand it, there's a huge wedding market within the context of Africa. And therefore, we just want to make sure that we can position ourselves to be able to access some of that market.
Okay, finally, in terms of Barbados now, what more has to be done either by our central bank or through Parliament legislatively to make sure that this process will be seamless and everything is great for our business people to start off trade?
Well, from our perspective as the Ministry of Finance, we are working with Export Barbados to set up our own version of Export-Import Bank, which will become the representative body within the context of the African Exim Bank. And we hope to be able to finalize that by the end of September, early October, the structure with respect to that, in order to have that membership accredited, if you like, that we can have shares into the bank such that those monies that we spoke about earlier, we can start to see access to flows in relation to that. Now, in the meantime, we encourage certainly all individuals, all businesses, to be able to look at their current structure and to recognize that we have to find partners. And Africa is a large continent. We have to find strategic partners, both financially as well as whatever business we may be engaged in. We have to find those partners. The African Due Diligence Platform provides a wonderful opportunity to be able to break down those barriers. And therefore, we encourage them to be able to reach out to Export Barbados and Invest Barbados for the moment, to be able to help us then to connect on the other side so that it is as seamless as possible. There isn't any legislative amendments to be done other than the usual immunity agreements that once agreed would be in place. And therefore, from our perspective, we are moving as quickly as we can to be able to open the doors such that the ordinary citizen or the private sector right here in Barbados and across the region can be able to walk across that bridge and be able to do more substantive businesses with countries in Africa.
I want to thank you so much for joining us this morning, Minister Strawn, and best of luck to us in being able to attract all the investment that will come our way as a result of this conference. Thank you so much once again, and do have a great day.
Thank you very much.
Minister of the Economy and Investment, Ryan Strawn, coming up on CBC Morning Report, updates on the pandemic. Two people, a 65-year-old man and a 70-year-old woman, succumbed to COVID-19 yesterday, Monday, September 5th. Their deaths have brought the number of casualties from the virus to 546. Meanwhile, a total of 59 new COVID-19 cases, 27 males and 32 females, were recorded from the 298 tests conducted on September 4th by laboratories across the island. Of the positive people, 12 were under the age of 18 and 47 were 18 years and older. There were 60 people in isolation facilities, while 731 were in home isolation. Under the National Vaccination Program for COVID-19, the total number of people with at least one dose is 163,346, while the total number of fully vaccinated is 154,400. 436. Jamaica's public health system can expect to see some improvements in the near future. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton is collaborating with the Health Minister of Manitoba, Canada, on issues affecting both countries post-COVID-19.
Dr. Tufton says through dialogue and knowledge transfer, the Jamaican-born minister and her team will be able to guide the country, especially in the areas of training, using technology and handling mental health illnesses.
We have discussed, among other things, health information systems, which Manitoba is, and the health systems there are much more advanced than us because they have implemented that system. So issues around telemedicine, the digital platform for electronic records and transfer of data, which of course comes with all sorts of advantages in terms of patient care. We are doing that now, and we believe that we can share those experiences and learn a lot in that regard.
Dr. Tufton also pinpoints that another benefit he's anticipating from the collaboration is how Jamaica can improve its management of human resources within the public health system.
Issues around HR, human resources for health, or doctors or nurses, constant discussion around retention, training, expansion of the cadre, and one that I personally believe, and I believe there's consensus here, that the future requires significantly more collaboration, not competition.
Although Minister Gordon says Canada faces a similar challenge in that regard, she says they have mastered digital medicine, which she's looking forward to sharing with Jamaica.
It's time now to preview what's coming up on Morning Barbados, so we say good morning to Pearson Boone.
Good morning, Wendy. Good morning, everyone. Coming up today, two more entrepreneurs will join us this morning as they tell the journey of their leap of faith to start their own business. They'll speak to their challenges, but they'll also speak to the support given to them by the Barbados Trust Funds Limited. Also, what are those things that keep you up at night? Yeah, how many of them really are within your subconscious? And the author of the book, What the Things That Keep You Up at Night, will join us as she shares her journey and she shares her solutions through the pages of her book. And are you one of those parents scratching your head trying to figure out, why is this child such a picky eater? What's going on? Is it ever going to be broken? Will this child ever be able to sit at the table to have a full meal? Those questions we'll answer. We'll have the answers still when we're joined by Dr. Birchwood a little later on, right here from 6:30 on Morning Barbados. Back to you, Wendy.
Thanks so much, Pearson. Looking forward to seeing you at the bottom of the hour. More news on the CBC Morning Report after the break. Government continues to demonstrate its commitment to uplifting workers in Barbados. The suggestion from Minister of Labour, Social Security and the Third Sector, Colin Jordan, as he listed a number of initiatives by the current administration to fulfill that objective. He was speaking during a Barbados Labour Party St. Michael South Branch meeting at the Graydon Sealy Secondary School.
It is now with the people who actually write the laws, the Chief Parliamentary Counsel's office. That is their protection for trade unions to make sure that they're recognized once they pass whatever they need to do. We also have, approved by Cabinet, with the Chief Parliamentary Counsel's office, the protection of an act to amend the Protection of Wages Act to indicate how you are to be paid, and to make sure that people don't rip you off after you've worked for them. There's something called the Employment Rights Tribunal, where cases are heard. We've speeded up how those cases are heard.
Also addressing the meeting was Minister of People Empowerment, People Empowerment and Elder Affairs and MP for St. Michael South, Kirk Humphrey. He suggested that the Barbados Labour Party remains a popular political institution, even with young people.
I decided last week or a week before that, for the sake of the party in St. Michael South, and I know my young people aren't really too much into this thing, but I asked that a few people would come forward and join the party, and in a week, we had 40 people sign up, 40 new young members. So y'all could stand, please, and be acknowledged. Some of y'all who are here, look at some here, of like, somebody get a picture of this, like. To take a good shot of this, these are young people who signed up to join this Labour Party. Thank you all so much. And we got 40 people to sign up in a week.
Mr. Humphrey adds that residents of Beccles Hill have been querying about the proposed future plans for their area and its impact on them. He intends to have a discussion on what Barbados needs to do in terms of social development.
You see the world different when you're a minister, you know what I mean, Colin? Like, you see it differently because you're responsible for it. And so I now concern myself with every disabled person, every older person, every poor person in Barbados, people who are challenged in other ways, whether it is ill health from communicable or non-communicable diseases and so on. It's a big mandate, you know, and so I think what we need to do is to start having conversations with people. Next week we're going to do a setup in the Bayland and then bring it to Britain-Hill.
The creative industry in Barbados is tipped to be among the first to benefit from African experience. Word of this from President of the Afrexim Bank, Dr. Benedict Arama. He says the industry in Barbados is an untapped market and the African experience will be used to move it to the next level.
We have created a film financing facility that is doing well in partnership with Netflix. These are the kind of things we see, fusing the creativity of the Caribbean and Africa and producing for the world. And we providing the financing to make sure the product actually comes up to the quality level that the world will expect.
The bank official said the recently concluded Africa-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum was a success. He added that investors have recognized that there are opportunities in Barbados.
So we make it less risky for them to move in. There are 2 banks that are coming from Africa, big banks, the big banks you see really that are calling global also. They're coming here. They will not come here if they don't feel that there's an opportunity. And the opportunity they see is not the opportunity to finance business elsewhere. It's an opportunity to finance trade between Africa and the Caribbean, because that's what they understand.
Bermudians now have a new opportunity to make their mark on the island's history. The National Museum of Bermuda is encouraging them to join an online community crowdsourcing project by submitting their old family photos and stories to its website. It follows the success of last year's award-winning Trace Your Roots community program.
Have your grandparents ever told you stories about your ancestors that you thought should be in Bermuda history books? Well, now they can get the recognition you feel they deserve, thanks to the Bermuda Family Scrapbook Initiative, spearheaded by the National Museum of Bermuda.
We hope to collect as many photos and stories as possible so that we can build robust idea of the multiple perspectives and experiences of Bermuda history over time and our connections outside of Bermuda as well. So it's an opportunity for the community to get involved in preserving and curating local history.
Launched in March of this year, the program aims to highlight how history begins at home and how the individual threads that make up the Bermuda Tapestry are interwoven in more ways than we realize.
The project offers us an opportunity to uncover those threads and learn about those threads. And in doing so, the more stories and the more photos that are shared, the more threads we have, the more vibrant and vivid a picture of Bermuda history we can get. And through that, we really hope to kind of open up our understanding of the multiple perspectives and experiences of Bermuda history. Because, you know, there might be some overlaps here and there, but you can learn something completely new about how someone else experiences Bermuda, especially in the past. It's so varied.
Israel has said there's a high possibility that slain Al Jazeera journalist Shireen Abu Akleh was accidentally hit by Israeli army fire, but added that it would not be launching a criminal investigation.
Almost 4 months have passed since Al Jazeera journalist Shireen Abu Akleh was murdered by an Israeli soldier in the occupied West Bank. Despite repeated calls from human rights organizations and press freedom advocates for an independent investigation into the killing of Shireen, Israel has consistently refused, even ignoring a call from U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken for such a probe. Now Israel has released the findings of what it calls an operational investigation, the accused investigating themselves. The Israeli probe found that, quote, there was a high possibility that Abu Akleh was accidentally hit by Israeli gunfire that was fired towards what it claimed was suspects identified as armed Palestinian gunmen. However, there has been no evidence to support Israel's claim. Shireen was killed in broad daylight whilst wearing clearly marked press protective gear. Eyewitness statements and video evidence shows that there was no exchange of fire and that the veteran journalist followed all protocol. Investigations by Al Jazeera, the New York Times and CNN all established that Shireen was killed by Israeli fire in what many say appeared to have been a deliberate hit. In the immediate aftermath of the killing, Israeli officials changed their narrative 7 times in 24 hours. And now, 4 months later, whilst admitting that one of their soldiers was probably behind the killing, they insist it was a mistake. Israeli officials will hope that releasing these findings will help stave off criticism, but many will question whether or not it will be enough in the court of public opinion.
Shireen Abu Akleh's life matters.
For its part, Al Jazeera has vowed to continue seeking justice for its murdered journalist, as has Shireen's family. Her brother Anton and niece Lena have met with members of the US Congress and Senate, hoping for Washington's help in seeking justice from its ally. Al Jazeera is also part of a wider coalition of media freedom organizations petitioning the International Criminal Court to look into the case of the slain veteran journalist, with other legal avenues also being explored.
Kenya's Supreme Court has upheld the victory of former Deputy President William Ruto in the August 9th presidential election after ruling on a number of petitions brought by his closest challenger, Raila Odinga. The unanimous verdict was delivered yesterday by Martha Koome, the chair of the 7-member court.
Judges at Kenya's Supreme Court summarized their ruling in less than 2 hours. They dismissed petitions challenging last month's presidential election results. President-elect William Ruto won the election. His opponent, Raila Odinga, disputed the poll. The bulk of Odinga's case was based on the electoral voting system, which he said had been tampered with. The judges ruled there was no credible evidence to prove this.
This is a unanimous decision of the court, and we make the following orders. 1, the presidential election petition number E005 of 2022 are hereby dismissed.
Odinga's lawyers say they will respect the decision of the court, but they do not agree with it.
We had sufficient time to carry out a proper audit, including looking at the issue of the foreign intruders, the Venezuelans, which you would notice the court avoided in making any comment about those intrusions and invasions of the system.
Opinion outside the court is divided. These Kenyans have been monitoring what has been going on in street corners. Both Raila Odinga and William Ruto have millions of supporters, but only 60% of Kenyans turned up to vote. Some say they are frustrated by politicians.
During the time
in his first address since the court's ruling, Ruto said the will of the people was respected.
I therefore extend a hand of brotherhood to all my competitors and to all their supporters. We are not enemies, we are Kenyans.
Outgoing President Uhuru Kenyatta also addressed the nation.
Is it about numbers or is it about process? Which of these two is it? And can our institutions rule one way in one election and another way in another election without scrutiny?
Some Kenyans believe the country is more divided than ever, but they also hope their new leader will deliver on promises he made on the campaign trail.
In sports, LNR United celebrated an easy win in their encounter, while both Kickstart teams registered victories when the action continued in the BFA's Republic Cup and Women's Soccer League continued at the Bar Hall venue. CBC's Sean Green reports.
Let's start things off with the ladies. Genesis Kickstart in the blue and Pinelands in the red. Here the Pine tries to create some room to shoot, but the striker not quite balanced and the attempt goes over the top. After a scoreless first half, Kickstart came out with a purposeful approach. Good work by the Pinelands custodian to cover the attack. Kickstart with an opportunity from the corner, and in the midst of the madness between attack and defense from both sides, the keeper once again does well, curling her body around this one to close down the attack. Another corner kick comes in from the left of screen and finds the head of Shantia Padmore beating the leaping keeper, and that goal in the 68th minute was all that was needed by Genesis to complete a 1-0 win over the ladies from the Pine. The second game featured Kickstart men versus Dallas Road in the yellow and black, and Remy Samuel needed just 1.5 minutes again from the header, and the Kickstart Stars were shining from early. Their second goal came fresh off the boot of Luke Humphrey, surprising the keeper with this attack from just outside the D, leaving the keeper flat on the turf. And the 2-0 would become 3-0 just 1 minute later, when Jelani Green was forced wide on the flank, but he worked the ankle well, blasting it past the keeper, sinking it into the net. A free kick awarded roughly 10 minutes later, taken by Humphrey, bubbles gently to the keeper, who fails to collect, and Akeem James pounces like a tiger. Pivotal left boot finds the mark. 4-0 now to Kickstart. Second half action, and Green, who had already scored in the first and wanted to add another to his account, he did so, slicing through these clueless defenders, and the keeper burying it once more. It's a 5-0 whipping so far. Dying moments with the game all but over, but Daniel Jewett managed to score one for Dallas Road after the keeper made a mess of things here. But the final score, Kickstart Stars 5, Dallas Road 1.
Well, the football action is heating up. Well, our next newscast will be today at noon, and you can also tune into our stations of the radio network of CBC. It's now time for Morning Barbados.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning to you.
morning to you indeed and welcome to today, Tuesday, August the 6th, 2022. I'm Pearson Bowen, welcoming you here, there, and everywhere. Thank you so much for joining us on our streams on YouTube and Facebook. As always, good to have you company. Continue to interact there with us and among yourselves as well. It's good to see how you operate as a community. That's what we love here at Morning Barbados. Now, coming up today, we'll be giving you yet another opportunity to have some fun with me as we pose some letters for you to unscramble. So look out for that coming up. Thornwood will be back this morning, and he continues to take your calls as you move towards becoming a fitter you. So get your questions together, and when we say you call to put your questions on fitness and exercise to Thornwood. Agent Sharita will also come by to widen our knowledge of real estate. That's coming up too. And are you a parent scratching your head this morning trying to figure out what's wrong with this child? Why is this child such a picky eater? If that is your concern today, scratch your head no more. Our pediatrician, Dr. Gillian Birchwood, will join us as she shares some insight as to why and what are some of the possible solutions. How can we get this child to be a heartier eater rather than just a picky eater? Also today, what are some of those things that keep you up at night? What are some of them? Maybe it is something that rests within your subconscious. I don't know. Well, the author of that book, What Are Those Things That Keep You Up at Night, will join us to talk a little bit about the book and perhaps share her personal story as well. But let's get started this morning by looking at some entrepreneurs who continue to benefit tremendously so from the support given to them by the Barbados Trust Funds Limited. Joining us is the owner of Glitz, the brand, Shalisa Taylor, and the owner of Touch Works, Julia Kane. Good morning, ladies.
Hi, good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us this Tuesday morning. Let's start with you, Shalisa. Your business is called Glitz, the brand. What is Glitz, the brand about, and why did you choose to start Glitz, the brand?
Well, good morning again to you, Pearson, and your team. Good morning to you, viewers. My name is actually Shalisa Laylor and not Taylor.
I apologize.
That's okay. And my brand, Glitz the brand, is actually a home-based salon. And I first started doing nails when I was about 12 or 13 years old. And you know, after time, I actually gave up on it. And I remember being with like the COVID and everything going on, the whole pandemic, and losing then my job after I was laid off. I decided, you know what, I'm going to go on a quest to really do something for myself that I love, something that I will not just be doing to earn, you know, but I want to do something that I will really enjoy doing. At certain, you know, I really was like having desires to start back to do nails and so forth because I have always loved the beauty industry. So that's basically what the business is about, like nails, manicures, pedicures, all kinds of acrylic and gel enhancement for the fingers and the feet. And I also do include the gents as well.
Well, imagine when your life changed when you were made redundant and you had now to find ways and means to sustain yourself. That must have been a frightening moment of time. And then how long did it take, having had that traumatic experience, how long did it take you to come up with the idea to, you know what, I will work from home. I can actually do this. It's a passion that I already have.
Well, not very long, I would say, because entrepreneurship is something that I have always loved, but it was just to get my hands on this thing, like what is the one thing I want to do. So it was just a matter of time before I figured out, okay, you know, I'm going to take back up this. I used to love it so much when I was growing up. So it really didn't take a long time for me.
Working for yourself as opposed to working for someone else.
Yes.
Shalisa, I'm asking, how do you now feel about being your own boss, working for yourself, when compared with working for someone else?
Well, it's a piece of work, but I enjoy it. I enjoy it every step of the way. And, you know, in time to come, I will be thrilled to also be able to help other aspiring nail techs. You know, I'd be happy to be able to provide jobs for them as well, to kind of guide them into going into entrepreneurship as well.
And so, Julia, now you operate Touch Works. What is Touch Works about, and why did you start TouchWorks?
Hi, good morning. So actually the name of the company is TorchWorks, as in torch,
Why am I getting this also wrong this morning? TorchWorks, I apologize too. Yes.
So I consider myself actually as a partner in this business. It started as a hobby for our creative director. His name is George Yearwood. He's actually the talent behind what we do. We blow glass on a very small scale. We don't use the furnace that most persons may be accustomed to. We use a torch, hence the name TorchWorks. Use very small, thin pieces of glass, rods of glass, and then we produce stuff, earrings, pendants, functional pieces. You just bring a Barbadian flair to the art form.
Any regrets at all about starting this line of business?
No, actually, there are very few businesses in the Caribbean on a whole who actually blow glass, and we were very. I mean, to get in the industry like this and to see the response from persons. I mean, when persons see this being done on spot, everyone is in awe. I mean, everyone is in awe. Just to see the glass, the flame, the way he maneuvers and manipulates the glass, and we have no regrets whatsoever.
Well, that's wonderful. I'm glad to know this. So your decision now to operate on your own, because you said you would have had some assistance from someone. So here it is now. You're leaping with into faith with a business and being able to sustain your business right the way through. How has that really truly been for you? Putting aside all your fears and saying, I am going forward with TorchWorks.
Well, actually, Pearson, it is challenging. Why? Because I'm still a full-time worker. I'm fully employed. I have 2 kids. I am doing my bachelor's. I am a volunteer in a lot of different institutions. So having to be very involved in a small business, having the entrepreneurial mindset, it is challenging, but I'm always up for challenge, to be quite honest with you. And as I said, our creative director, he's awesome when it comes to producing these pieces, sitting with the clients and actually getting their ideas and bringing them to fruition. So I guess teamwork really truly makes it a lot easier for us to accomplish what we need to.
And that's important, because there are oftentimes, either people work for themselves completely, that's all they do, or it's something else that they do, just trying to make everything work. And you can be so overwhelmed by it all that you can either give up or just give in completely. And so here it is that you're persevering all the way through. Shalisa, how is it for you in terms of making the decision to turn for support from the Barbados Trust Funds Limited? What was it that led you to think, I need a little bit of help, and these are the people who can help me?
Well, after having funds exhausted and so on due to the pandemic, a family member of mine actually referred me to the Barbados Trust Fund, and I just want to say thank you to them. It has been a tremendous experience for me so far, seeking funding from them. And what I love so much about the Barbados Trust Fund and why I would refer them to anyone is because, they don't just, they're not just a lending institute, but they also fully equip you with everything that you need for your business. Even along the way, like recently I was contacted because they wanted to check up to know how are things going with the business and so on. And there's other refresher courses and so on like that is being offered to those persons who are getting into entrepreneurship. So I really think it's a wonderful experience and opportunity for those who want to start their own businesses.
What about you, Julia? Has this support, this relationship with the Barbados Trust Funds Limited helped you not just to hone your skill and get your business on a more steady footing, but is it also a part of your long-term plan in terms of moving the business forward?
Yes, definitely, Pearson. I really think that Trust Fund has a very good thing going right now. As Alicia would have mentioned, they do a lot of follow-up calls. They offer opportunities for you to get your business out there. My recent call was just telling me where are the markets that we can possibly blow at, get our products out there. And I really like the follow-up process. I mean, there are other institutions that offer similar services, but the follow-up process is what really matters. And just giving the entrepreneur the opportunity to get themselves out there and push themselves. I mean, it's excellent what they're offering, to be quite honest with you.
I'm supposing then, Julia, it must be wonderful to see the phone ring and it's that officer on the other end of the line say, hey, how you doing? Just want to make sure it's going all right. Is there anything else we can help you with? And I know that they also provide places where you can actually come and showcase what it is that you offer as well. So Julia, in terms of your long-term plan, what is it for your business Torchworks?
For Torchworks, we actually are working right now to get a location in the Grantley Adams Airport store, in the Grantley Adams Airport, because we find that the tourists, they gravitate more to the product more so than locals. Locals really and truly appreciate what we do. They love to see it. But we think our niche market really and truly are those persons who travel and want to take a piece of Barbados back with them, a very unique piece of Barbados. Because a lot of our product are paired with like limestone and mahogany, mango woods. So we really have a niche market when it comes to our travelers.
That's brilliant. And what about you, Shalisa, in terms of moving your business from just your home into the wider community? What's your long-term plan?
Well, likewise, I am also working on getting a location that works best for my clients and those upcoming clients and myself, because I really want to be able to do the best for my clients. I don't just want it to be where you come and get a service done, but I want it to be like more of an experience, you know. So I would really love to get a place where it would allow me to have more space and more comfort and so on for my clients.
I can imagine you have sleepless nights just thinking what next to do, how next to do it, and who next to do it with. This must be fun, this journey. Are you really thoroughly enjoying the journey of entrepreneurship, Shalisa?
Yes, I would say, because I am always up for the challenge. I mean, there are times where it could get a bit frustrating. There's so much going on in the mind and so on. But you know what? That's the point of me doing what I love. So I'm always up for that challenge.
Indeed. And I see you smiling, Julia. That says, yeah, I agree with you, Shalisa, right?
Yeah.
This is wonderful. Ladies, I want to wish both of you only the very best as you go forward. Thank you for joining us this morning, but most of all, for being such strong entrepreneurs as ladies, women, who have decided to take that bull by its horn and ride it, and really ride into success with your respective businesses as well. And I'm glad that the Barbados Trust Funds Limited is there, who always there ready to serve you and to support you as you go as well. So all the best, and thanks a lot for joining us this morning.
You're most welcome. Bye.
You're welcome. Bye-bye indeed. We're going to take a break right here on Morning Barbados, and when we come back, we'll be turning the pages of the book, that special book, What Are Some of Those Things That Keep You Up at Night? Stay with us.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
"15 minutes now to go to 7 o'clock. Things that keep me up at night." Oh, that can be an endless list. And so that's also the title of the book, written by Mary Mackenzie. She's the author. She joins me now. Things that keep me up at night. Mary, good morning.
Good morning, Pearson.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having me. How are
Thank
you
you for.
this morning?
I'm well today. How are you doing?
Fantastic.
You know, the list can truly be endless. Things that keep me up at night. You know, whether it's worrying about something from the past, worrying about the present day challenges, worrying about the future. And that's all we tend as human beings to do. We worry because we want to have a plan that works. Is this what the book is about?
The book is my memoir, and it's about my life experiences, things that I experienced that were not pleasant. So they kept me up at nights, really.
And so, to this day, how are you coping with those things that kept you up at night? Do they still keep you up at night, or did you have to do something so that you can rest at night?
Yes, I had to work through them. Sometimes they still jump to mind, but not, it doesn't have the effect that it did years ago. Like anyone who has been through adversities, you know, to survive and thrive, you have to process and, you know, deal with, you know. So I found the ways to get through them and thrive.
And I'm glad you said that, because oftentimes we restore them into our subconscious and we figure we having subsumed them, that we've gotten over them. And sometimes they just flare up at the most unexpected time. And so your book helps us through your journey to be able to see that we can actually manage those moments of our past that have not been pleasant. We can actually use them as stepping stones to move forward. How did you stumble upon that reality? And what was it that you actually went through? And how does the book help anyone who turns the pages to actually see the way out?
The book is about my journey as a sexual assault survivor. First experience I can remember was at the age of 11. It was a family member. And for many, many years, I did not share the story except with one of my aunts when I was an adult. And so I got this opportunity to write the book. I entered a 30-day writing challenge. And I wrote it in 30 days, processed it, and published. Now, through my journey, my career path as a registered nurse, I encountered other survivors that I cared for. I'm also a sexual assault nurse examiner. Passion of mine is caring for survivors. And that came to me through my work as a nurse, and in particular as a sexual assault nurse examiner. And I met also individuals and organizations who were also working to help survivors survive and thrive through therapy, journaling, you know, wellness programs. So, and I'm so gratified that this book has gone on to help others to share their story. So it was a surprise to even members of my family when I shared initially, because as I said, I did not disclose, but it's so cathartic to get it all out there.
Yes.
Secrets no more, silence no more.
And that's the whole point, pouring out your heart's secrets so that you are free of the demons that would have imprisoned you at some particular point in time. But you are also lucky, in a sense, as a registered nurse, to find yourself in a place where through your own practice, you are also healing yourself. But there are people who have their own demons who do not have that opportunity. How can your story help them manage themselves out of that demonic state of entrapment owing to some past trauma?
My story highlights a journey through, you can't do it alone. And what I also did was pay tribute to people along the path, I call them my village, who assisted me in surviving and thriving. So there are organizations in your community, national and locally, not just in the community, and there are help out there for survivors. So you don't have to go it alone. There are community rape crisis centers. There is online if you don't want to go face to face. So don't sit in and become shut in and try to do it on your own, because you don't have to.
And there it is. Don't sit and be shut in to do it on your own, because you don't have to. And so there's the book now written by Mary Mackenzie that can help you understand that. So when we buy the book and we pick up the book and we turn the pages, and I'm asking this question because oftentimes when we do is that I want to read her story. I want to see what she's been through, almost in a kind of, you know, gypsy kind of way. But that's not the experience that you want when people read this book, Things That Keep Me Up at Night. You want them to also see themselves through the pages and the story.
Yes, because we all, although the trauma may be identical, our experiences are unique. So we don't all process the same. So it's not one size fit all, but apply the principles to your individual story.
So here it is then. Within the book, there are principles that you share in your journey as well. And certainly as a registered nurse dealing with people of sexual assault, you understand how to navigate out of that trauma. Share with us a couple of those principles so that anyone watching today now is really intrigued to really get the book. What are some of those principles that we must first employ to be able to manage our way out? Acknowledgement, one.
Yes, talk about it. Admit what happened, call it by name. Seek out organizations or individuals, even a friend, by phone. You don't have to be in person, and talk about it. One of the things I used was journaling, and I still do a gratitude journal every day now. I find at least 3 things that I'm grateful for every day, and I write them down. And that may not be in the book, but those are some of the things that I use. So it's you can get over this.
You can get over this. Now, it's become a bestseller, oddly enough. Does that surprise you?
Well, yes. And I also won a national award recently, which I didn't expect. This little book, there are people using it in their group therapy. So it's amazing. And to also help others to share their story, break the silence, and that's what it's about.
So in this acknowledgement of your work through the pages of your book, Things That Keep Me Up at Night, knowing now that not only is it a bestseller, it's being used by so many organizations and groups to be able to help people through that transition. Does it put added pressure on you now to do more of the kind, or to do even more kind of literary works that you believe could also help others in many other ways?
I don't feel pressure to do literary work. I mean, that's something I'm interested in doing, but I don't feel pressured. What I feel pressured, but because I put it on myself, is to do more to help survivors. And I'm working to get into more of that.
But your journey you didn't start, I mean, you became a registered nurse. I'm sure within all of that, you never thought, I'm going to be a writer, I'm going to be an author. You just wanted to do your nursing.
Right, yes, never thought of being an author. I wrote poems, which are housed on the hard drive of my computer, but I never thought of writing a book. I was on Facebook one day and it flashed across my screen about entering a 30-day writing challenge, and I jumped at it, and it was hosted by national best-selling author, USA Today best-selling author Nalena Kai, and here I am.
And that challenge you took, no doubt, just to see how you will do, not necessarily to win, to whatever else, but to see.
No.
And I'm asking that simply because, you know, sometimes life takes us into turns and journeys that we did not see, but it leads us down some beautiful roads and experiences. How is that also captured in your book, The Things That Keep Me Up at Night? That kind of experience that you've had in finding your way, winding your way through life, meeting other forks in the road, and you took a chance, and it worked.
Yes. It's quite a journey, actually, from Jamaica to the United States. And the people I met along the way, I've always wanted to be a nurse all my life. My aunt in Jamaica, my idol, Sister Irma, she was a nurse, retired now. So I've always wanted to be a nurse. But I never got to have that until I migrated to the United States. So it's a field that you can branch out into and do different things. Like now I'm an educator of new nurses, and I love the journey.
Life is so beautiful right now indeed, and that's part of the release. You can live a beautiful life even if you found yourself at some point having had a traumatic experience. The things that keep you up at night do not need to have you sleepless. You can still sleep, you can have still wonderful life and a wonderful experience, but you need to confront it, face it, call it for what it is, and meet the success coming thereafter. So for those watching who want to get themselves a copy of the book, Things That Keep Me Up at Night, how is this possible for them?
Things That Keep Me Up at Night is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kobo, Apple, Walmart.com.
Wherever books are sold.
Target.com. Wherever books are sold online.
Wherever books are sold online, and the physical copy, of course, from any of those other locations that you would have just listed. So here it is now, Mary Mackenzie, the author. What do your friends and family now say about you when they, not just registered nurse, but author, and they see your name as an Amazon bestseller and the stars next to your title? What do they now think of you?
They're very happy for me, and some of the comments were, I know you would make it, that, yes. They shared my success and very happy for me.
Now that you look back at the 11-year-old who had that traumatic experience to the now age-old Mary Mackenzie, what do you think of your life now? How do you characterize that transition to now and that transformation you've been through?
There is one saying I have in the book: don't feel sorry for the child that was, be happy for the woman who is. I've survived, I'm thriving, and I'm accomplished, and I'm impacting the life of others, and I'm living my purpose.
Wow.
Very happy for that.
How do you not feel sorry for that child that was? How do you not look back and think, this was such a horrible moment, and continue to feel that way even as you assess your life going forward? How do you get past that, really?
You see, the child has processed what happened. She's not what happened. It's something that happened to her, and she owns that. So whatever shame and guilt she experienced, now she's giving it back to the perpetrator. No more. No more.
Wow. You're speaking to someone today who would have gone through or is going through, and I like the powerful words that you're using. No more. It was the moment. It was not you. And so I really hope that people today find their way through life, managing their traumatic experiences either in the past or the current, the present, that they can find a way to get a copy of this book, read your journey, and see how you are smiling today as a consequence of your meeting your challenge head on and dealing with it. And now you're able to help others as you do as well. The book is called Things That Keep Me Up at Night by Mary Mackenzie. It's available on Amazon, and it's available where books are downloaded, books are sold. That's the cover of the book right there. It's a memoir, but it's also a very practical guide as you read it to see how you too can manage your way out of some of your traumatic past experiences or your current experiences as well, to find the beauty of life and living yet again, to have that smile as Marie has on her face as well, and to be able to live life to your fullest, but also to be able to help others as you go. Don't keep this joy to yourself. Help others as you go, because that too is also part of the healing. Your faith, exactly. Mary, your faith. I want to talk a little bit about that for a second. How has your faith helped you, kept you through all of this?
See, I grew up in the church, so being God-centered has always been a part of my life. And I know that no matter what my journey, God is there. I don't always feel it, I don't always see it, but I know He's there in the background. I just gotta open and accept it. So, I live close to my Bible.
Yes.
There are healing scriptures. So God will heal you and bind your wounds. Just let Him have it.
Let Him have it. Oh, Mary Mackenzie, it's such a pleasure talking to you. Truly inspired by it, and I really want people to get the same inspiration by turning the pages of the book, Things That Keep Me Up at Night. Her name is Mary Mackenzie. She's the author. She's a registered nurse. She's also a survivor, but most of all, she is a warrior for change as well. Thank you very much. All the best with this, and thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you, Pearson. It was a pleasure being here.
Likewise,
Thank you,
likewise
Barbados.
indeed. You're welcome indeed. Take care. We're going to take a break right here. When we come back, we'll share with you the news. Stay with us on Morning Barbados.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
With your news update, I'm Wendy Burke. Minister of Economic Affairs and Investment Ryan Strawn says Barbados and the region stand to benefit now from $1 billion from the Afrexim Bank. Speaking to Morning Report today, he said additional funds have been made available since last year's signing. Minister Strawn said the conference was a success, and at present, a team of fashion designers are in Kenya making connections. He said by October, they should have all the necessary infrastructure in place to make the operations of the bank possible. Meanwhile, local creative industry in Barbados is tipped to be among the first to benefit from African expertise. Word of this from President of Afrexim, Dr. Benedict Arama. He says the industry in Barbados is an untapped market, and the African experience will be used to move it to the next level.
We have created a film financing facility that is doing well in partnership with Netflix. These are the kind of things we see, fusing the creativity of the Caribbean and Africa and producing for the world. And we providing the financing to make sure the product actually comes up to the quality level that the world will expect.
The bank official said the recently concluded Africa-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum was a success. He added that investors have recognized that there are opportunities in Barbados.
So we make it less risky for them to move in. There are two banks that are coming from Africa, big banks, the big banks you see really that I'll call them global also, that are coming here. They will not come here if they don't feel that there's an opportunity. And the opportunity they see is not opportunity to finance business elsewhere. It's an opportunity to finance trade between Africa and the Caribbean, because that's what they understand.
Government continues to demonstrate its commitment to uplifting workers in Barbados. The suggestion from Minister of Labour, Social Security and the Third Sector, Colin Jordan, as he listed a number of initiatives by the current administration to fulfill that objective. He was speaking during a Barbados Labour Party St. Michael's South Branch meeting at the Graydon Sealy Secondary School.
It is now with the people who actually write the laws, the Chief Parliamentary Counsel's office. That is their protection for trade unions to make sure that they're recognized once they pass whatever they need to do. We also have approved by Cabinet with the Chief Parliamentary Counsel's office the protection of an act to amend the Protection of Wages Act to indicate how you are to be paid and to make sure that people don't rip you off after you've worked for them. There's something called the Employment Rights Tribunal, where cases are heard. We've speeded up how those cases are heard.
Also addressing the meeting was Minister of People Empowerment and Elder Affairs and MP for St. Michael South, Kirk Humphrey. He suggested that the Barbados Labour Party remains a popular political institution, even with young people.
I decided last week or a week before that, for the sake of the party in St. Michael South, and I know my young people aren't really too much into this thing, but I asked that a few people would come forward and join the party, and in a week, we had 40 people sign up, 40 new young members. So y'all could stand, please, and be acknowledged. Some of y'all who are here, look at some here, of like, somebody get a picture of this, like. You take a good shot of this. These are young people who signed up to join this Labour Party. Thank you all so much. And we got this, we got 40 people to sign up in a week.
Mr. Humphrey adds that residents of Beccles Hill have been querying about the proposed future plans for the area and its impact on them. He intends to have a discussion on what Barbados needs to do in terms of social development.
You see the world different when you're a minister, you know what I mean, Colin? Like, you see it differently because you're responsible for it. And so I now concern myself with every disabled person, every older person, every poor person in Barbados, people who are challenged in other ways, whether it is ill health from communicable or non-communicable diseases and so on. It's a big mandate, you know, and so I think what we need to do is to start having conversations with people. Next week we're going to do a setup in the Bayland and then bring it to Britain-Hill.
And that's news. After the break, it will be more Pearson Bowen and Morning Barbados.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
It is now 8 minutes after 7 o'clock. It is now time for you to have some fun with me. And in doing so, unscramble this. So some letters will show on your screen in just a moment. Your job is to unscramble them. Take a look at that. And you figure it out by calling me now on 228-5562 or 228-5563. Unscramble the letters. Tell me the word you make when you do that. And use it in a sentence. Come on. It's good enough to know a word, but how do you apply that word within a structure of a sentence? That's what I also want to hear. So there we go. 228-5562 or 228-5563 are the numbers to call. Those letters on the screen are jumbled. They are scrambled. Your job is to unscramble them and tell me what you see. Tell me the word you make when you unscramble those letters. And then you call me. 228-5562 or 228-5563 and tell me the word, tell me it in a sentence as well. So 228-5562 or 228-5563. Call me from anywhere. Call me at your convenience. Call me now. 228-5562 or 228-5563. Unscramble these letters. C-H-O-R-E-P-U-I. And let me hear the word you can actually make with it. It is easy for some, not so easy for others, but it is, I promise you, a word in English. It's a word in English, and once you've unscrambled the letters, you will be happy with what you discovered. 228-5562 or 228-5563. This is not a word I know a lot of you will necessarily use in your normal lingo and language, but it's a word. Turn the pages of your dictionary. Let's see how we can do this. 228-5562 or 228-5563. Don't be the stubborn in me that says, I am moving till we get this right. Prove me wrong, that you can actually do this. Prove me. You can actually do this. 228-5562 or 228-5563. It hard? It really hard? For real? Is it really, really hard? Come on, you know this word. Does it start with a vowel? Does it start with a consonant? Does it end with a vowel or does it end with a consonant? That's what I'd like to hear from you. 228-5562 or 228-5563. So does it start with the E? Does it start with the R? Does it start with the P? Does it end with the U? I don't know. You do it. You tell me. By unscrambling the letters and by calling me to tell me what word do you think we can make. The word you think we can make with these jumbled up letters that ain't making any sense to you, right? It making 1 ounce of sense to you. But it makes sense. It is a word. It's a word in English. Yes, indeed, a chorpui. A little bit of Chinese it sounds, but that's all right. And there it is. So call me now. 228-5562 or 228-5563. Hard? You're smart. I know you are. And you can figure this one out. 228-5562 or 228-5563. What word can we make once you have fully unscrambled the letters you see on your screen? Do you want me to give you a hint? Really, truly? If you want me to give you a hint, call me. Call me and tell me you'd like a hint. And I will give you the hint. I promise you. Man of my word. I'll give you a hint, but you need to call me first and let me know that you need that hint. 228-5562 or 228-5563. That hint will be the very first letter of the word. I will tell you what the first letter is, but call me. 228-5562 or 228-5563. And let's see if you can figure out from there once I've given you the first letter of the word. Task is now yours. Work this out. Let's see what you work out here. 228-5562 or 228-5563. Come on. None of y'all know? All right. We seem to be having a little bit of a challenge with our telephone lines. Oh, my gospel. Just what I really wanted to hook you on this one. So we'll take a break right here. When we come back, we'll be interacting with our pediatrician about those things that we have a problem with when our children are picky. How do we define it? How do we determine what it is? How do we solve that problem of pickiness? A picky eater. We'll talk about that when we come right back after this break.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
My husband figured it out. It's euphoric. My husband just looked at it. He said, oh, that's euphoric.
Fourteen and a half minutes now after 7 o'clock here on Morning Barbados. We're turning our attention now to a subject area that really causes a lot of parents some concern. When you have that child who is a picky eater. Now, I confess, I too am still at this age, I too was a picky eater as a child. And so we're going to try to work this out with you right now as we're joined by our pediatrician, Dr. Gillian Birchwood. Dr. Birchwood, good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
I can hear you very, very well. Yes, can you? Good. I tell you can hear me too. Now, I know you're looking at me and saying, but Piercy, you're a fat child. Don't answer me. Don't answer me. So you cannot.
I'll hold my tongue.
So you cannot have been a picky eater, but so I was. What do you say is a child that is a picky eater?
This is something that really bothers parents a lot. The child who's picky feels quite happy, but the parent is really, really stressed out. And at meal times, if the parent is very stressed out, the kitchen table can be like a war zone. We have the child sitting there with their mouth clamped shut. They won't try anything. And the parent pleading and begging, and it can be really a miserable time for parents. But, you know, a picky eater is typically one who doesn't want to try new foods, and they might have eaten very well before and suddenly are refusing foods that they enjoyed all along. So in either case, they don't express a willingness to eat what is presented to them at the dinner table or at the breakfast table, and really the whole place can erupt in mayhem as the parents worry about the child.
Oh, do I know, do I know, do I know. I was one of those children. First of all, I'll use myself as an example for just a moment. I don't like what I call wet food. So soups, definitely not. So I concern myself with rice and pasta. Simple. Rice and pasta, you got me good. Anything else, please, you can have it. Thank you very much. But I've learned over time how to be able to navigate out of that. But at the same time, and while I remember having those wars with my mother, trying to get me to try different things. And it got to the stage where she said, you know what, if you're not eating this, you will starve. You're not eating this, you will find it for yourself. And so you found it within you to find something else to eat. But nonetheless, that's what I know the wars that can happen at the table when we're trying to get the children to try something else. So just taste it at least. And then there's also that child, as you've just described, who says, I've had enough of that. I no longer want this. But I don't even know what I want now. And so I would rather have nothing. And so that causes all of us as caregivers a great deal of concern.
Yes, I mean, everything you said is absolutely true. And I know that many people will be definitely identifying with what you've just said. Luckily, Caribbean mothers of a certain generation really didn't stand for any of that. And if you were picky, you were going to starve. And so you found a way out of it. But really and truly, I think it's important to understand what is the underlying, situation in most cases of children who are picky. Typically, up to the age of a year, children have a great appetite. They will eat anything that's presented to them. As long as it's not moving, they'll polish it off. But, after a year, their growth rate naturally slows down. So they grow really fast during the first year of life. So they're eating. After a year of life, their growth rate will naturally slow down. And so as their growth rate naturally slows down, their appetite does too. So it's really important for us to understand that a child who's 1.5 to 2 years old, who used to clean up their plate and beg for more, will now suddenly be pushing the plate back. 2/3 of the food will be left on it. And as a parent, you have unrealistic expectations of what that child actually needs. And so you will try to push and force and cajole and encourage them to eat way more than they actually need. And so it's really nothing in most cases that parents need to be worried about.
Except if it's not balanced. If it's just a preponderance of a particular type of food, but not enough of the other good foods, should I now be concerned as well?
Well, this is another great point. So I'll tell you what happens. Little Timothy is offered, chicken and rice and peas and vegetables for lunch. Mom and dad feel very proud that they've been offered a wonderful balanced meal. Timothy takes one look at that plate and says, I'm only eating chicken. You can take away everything else. And you know what? Don't stress. Today he's willing to eat chicken. Give him lots of chicken. Make sure he gets his daily supply of chicken. And when it comes to dinner time, don't offer him protein. He hasn't had the starches and he hasn't had the fruit and vegetables. So focus on that at the next meal. So think of what your child gets in over the course of 24 to 48 hours, rather than thinking of it as how much I need to get in a balance at each and every meal. So from the time you sort of deconstruct things like that, you realize, okay, for breakfast they want protein, at lunch they're having starch, At dinner, we'll give them fruit and vegetables. And guess what? In the course of 24 hours, they've managed to achieve a balanced diet. So it doesn't have to be in the way that we would typically expect, and yet you can still achieve your goal without stressing out.
But even within that 24 hours, the child says, I am still not eating those fruits and vegetables. You know, we shun that. I don't want broccoli. I don't want this. I'm not touching those. And I will throw a tantrum. And a parent would think, I'm not allowing my child to have everything that it truly needs. And that happens on day 1, day 3, 4, and 5. It's still happening. Do we give up or do we persist?
Absolutely don't give up. So one of the classic mistakes is we're giving them broccoli and we present it in exactly the same way. No, if they don't like it in that way, try it in another. So they don't like it looking like the broccoli, that's fine. Put it in the blender and pulverize it and put it in some gravy that they're having. No problem. They don't have to know that they're having the broccoli, but still you've managed to get it in.
Really?
The other thing is that you need to get them involved in really exploring that food. So you're in the supermarket, you talk about it, say, look, that's broccoli. It looks like a tree. Let's try that, let's take it at home. When you take it at home, you get them involved in the kitchen if they're old enough, and you get them involved in touching it, in looking at it, in sniffing it. So you are getting them more and more familiar with the food. And then when you've got them involved in the cooking, sometimes they may even be willing to take a little nibble of it and don't feel defeated if they take it out and spit it right back out. Try it another way tomorrow. So just because a child does not like a food doesn't mean you should give up on it. Try it 8 times, 10 times, 12 times. A lot of times we give up too often. Another common mistake parents make is rushing in to give that snack. They're afraid, oh my goodness, they didn't eat their lunch. They're going to be hungry. I'm going to give them those cookies that I know they're going to eat. I know it's not good for them. Or I'm going to give them that glass of milk that I know they're going to take. At least we'll get something in.
Yes.
The problem is that they're going to fill up on those snacks. Little kids are very smart. They know if they shut their little lips down at lunchtime, the snacks are coming out next, and they'll hold out for the snacks. Right? I would too. So it's really important not to fill them up with snacks, and giving them too much milk means they're going to be really full, and they will not have a balanced diet either if they're filling up on meal replacers and milk all the time. So it's very important not to give in and not to give up. Never surrender.
Never surrender. No retreat, no surrender indeed. Is it natural or normal for a child to be averse to anything, any kind of food at all? And I'm asking that given how I will never drink soup. I have never drank soup. I will never drink soup. So is that normal or natural for anyone to have that kind of reaction to food? And I'm asking because, you know, that
pulling out her hair.
Yeah, she had a rough time. She truly had a rough time. But, you know, because at the same time, would that fall within the classic definition of a picky eater? Or is it just a stubborn child?
Some children are really sensitive to certain ways that foods are presented. They don't like it if it's mushy, or if it's stringy, or if it's watery, you know, and then it's okay. You can respect that about your child. You know, not all of us like certain textures. Some people don't eat certain foods because they're too slimy, for example.
Yes.
So, you know, you can respect that about your child. And it doesn't matter as long as you can get the food in a presentation that's acceptable to them. As they get older, they may change their mind. I hated oatmeal when I was very little. Now I really love it. You know, so really and truly, don't give up and don't be discouraged. Just find an alternative presentation and know that this is a phase that many children go through, especially between the ages of 2 and 5 years old. That's really the peak time for pickiness. And if they don't like soup, don't give them soup. It's really not a problem. Go with the flow as long as they're getting something nutritious in.
Oh, my mother learned that fast. don't force it. He is not going to drink it. But when it goes beyond this 5-year-old situation you just described, and it's now heading to 7, 8, 9, 10, and it persists, how concerned should I be as a parent?
Well, if you have an extreme picky eater, you know, the child will only eat 3 foods, and I've seen this before. They will only eat 3 or 4 foods. They won't touch it, and it has to be exactly in this way. If you have a child who's gagging all the time, who's having difficulty, or only wants to drink, you may be dealing with more than just the child who is passing through that phase where they don't need to eat as much. You might have a child who has problems with their oral motor coordination. They may have muscle weakness that they can't tell you about that may make them gag, or they may be having an underlying condition such as autism, where children can tend to be extremely picky. And some children have OCD or obsessive compulsive disorder and really insist on having things in a certain way and may restrict themselves to only a limited number of foods. So if you have an extreme picky eater, especially if they're on the older side, really it might be a good idea for them to have an assessment by the doctor because there may be underlying reasons. And in those situations, you might need to enlist the help of a speech and language therapist who can help to strengthen those muscles if they're having difficulty. Or you may have an occupational therapist who specializes in feeding disorders, and they can be extremely helpful. Also remember to set the example. If you as a parent are being picky and fussy, then you can expect that your child is going to be picky and fussy and extremely discerning about what they eat. And that may really go past the typical time because children always copy what they see.
Yes. Yeah. So they will grow out of it, in other words. Generally they will. If they don't, there might be another underlying situation that you need to pay attention to and have to have some assessment done so that you can actually begin to resolve it. Because it's natural that you will grow out of it and you'll begin to consume in the quantities and the varieties that one expects as one grows and ages. But when it doesn't, watch it. And you'll see the change in size of the child as well. You know, as I said, it was a little thin little stick. And that's because I didn't quite eat what everybody ate. But I've since changed, obviously. So here we are. So parents, don't despair. Don't despair. If you have a picky child, sometimes it's normal, but when it goes to the absurd and abnormal is when you really need to pay attention. And that's where you really truly have to have that conversation and relationship with your pediatrician. And I know that this is what you do generally as a pediatrician, Dr. Birch, where you'll measure, you'll weigh, you'll monitor all those, the child's growth, because you will spot the differences.
Correct. You know, so you can see immediately if a parent says, my child is not eating well, but they're growing normally, then you really have nothing to worry about. That's just a phase that they're going through. And you as a parent have over expectations of what they really actually do need. So most times it's nothing to worry about, but in some situations you do really need to pay extra attention because there may be more than just I'm picky, there may be a problem in a minority of cases.
Ooh. This is great advice. This is great experience indeed. Dr. Birchwood, thank you as always for joining us on this Tuesday morning. This picky child is now fully appreciative of all the input that you've given to me this morning. So what I actually liked is what you said about the broccoli, you know, and I'll use the okra as an example. As a child, you could never have fed me okra until one day I had fried okra. And I thought, was I missing all of this? Was I truly missing all of this? So I began now to consume the okra now in larger quantities, and you cannot turn me away from okra now. And so you grow into it or you grow out of it, whatever way you want to look at it, but you have to look at different ways of presenting the food so that it becomes, it becomes palatable to the child as well. Thank you so much as always for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you again next Tuesday if it be God's will. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You do too, my friend. Dr. Gillian Birchwood, remember, picky child does not mean it's the end of it. You need to introduce them to different ways, take them to the supermarket, let them experience the selections with you so they get familiar with the product. And as you do, teach them about the benefits of the foods that they'll be consuming and find different ways, creative ways of presenting that food. Don't do the normal every Tuesday soup, every Wednesday macaroni pie. Mix it up. Surprise them. You might find that in that surprise, they may actually want to try the eating of that food. We'll take a break right here. We're coming back in just a moment. When it comes to questions on real estate, who do you call? Agent Sharita. So we're calling for Agent Sharita this morning. Agent Sharita, good morning to you.
Good morning. Here I am.
Ta-da! There she is. Now, I'll talk to my technical director, Roel. We need to have some smoke, There she is. Right, there were all those effects. That's beautiful indeed. I like what we're going to be talking about today because oftentimes we engage in real estate and there are terms that are used and it just goes over our heads and we assume that we understand it. So we pretend, and all the while we can walk ourselves into trouble.
So let's start off at the start of the transaction.
Right.
You should know what a buyer's agent is and what a listing agent is. I am a listing agent. So essentially persons give me their properties to either put on the market for sale or for rent. So that's all I do. I don't really go searching or hunting for you. You come to my online store, so to speak, and you pick up a house from the shelf, pack it in your trolley and go along about your business. So that is me, the listing agent. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have buyer's agents. So if you wanted to hunt for something particular, you could go and tell them your preferred specifications, and they would actually look around and try to shortlist some options for you. So that's the difference between the two. And then there's some that do both roles.
You know, often we think real estate agent, we don't distinguish. We just figure, do some real estate work for me. So if I'm looking for something, call my real estate agent. Not necessarily I'm looking to my real estate agent to see what they have available. So I'm glad you're able to make that distinction for us. You know, there are agents who will go hunting for you, and then there are agents who you can come purchase from because they have what they have. And that's what's most important. Then there's pre-qualification and pre-approval. Two totally different things, even though they have the same prefix.
Correct. And those are two names that persons get a little bit mixed up. So pre-qualification is if you go to your financial institution and you get a sense of what you qualify for based on your current liabilities, debt, income, and so forth. So they may say within a 15-minute meeting after they've looked at your job letter and some other bills and so forth, you know what? You qualify to borrow up to $300,000. And we could probably work out something where you pay back over 30 years, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a very generic guide, but the beauty of it, it helps you to know if you're house hunting, okay, my budget is about $300,000. However, pre-approval is different. Pre-approval now is where we dig up all into your business and find out what you are really eligible to borrow. Because you see, when you came in for that pre-qualification status, you may have hidden the fact that you just bought a car. You may have hidden the fact that your credit card debt is not just the one credit card you told us about, but four, totaling $40,000. So pre-approval now is more of a thorough investigation and digging up into your finances and then confirming based on all that we see as evidence, we are eligible to give you X.
Right. So with pre-approval, you know for sure X is the amount, and we can pre-approve it because we have checked you out, we know what it is, and we are prepared to extend to you credit of X amount. With pre-qualification, all I'm doing is just doing a basic check, look around your numbers and say, okay, you know, given everything that you've said, we think you could very well be qualified for whatever figure that figure would be.
Correct. So, before you go on, Pearson, I want to say this. Pre-qualification is a step that can take a while. So I usually recommend, pre-qualification can take a short time. You go in, you get a sense of what you have within 15, 20 minutes of a meeting. Pre-approval, however, takes longer. So you would find that pre-approved by your financial institution sometimes could take as long as 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And the seller is waiting to sell and move on. So it has helped out some persons who have pursued property before and it didn't work out. At least they had their pre-approval in place so that then when they found something else, they could strike quickly.
Indeed. Then there's the whole question of offer and counter offer. Not every offer is a counter offer, and not every counter offer is necessarily an offer.
All right, so an offer is something, Pearson, you see a house that you want to pursue, it costs $500,000, you have $480,000 in your pocket. you say, let me start playing a game of chess. I'm going to make an offer of 460,000 and act like if that is all I have.
Yes.
The seller, on the other hand, they see their property as worth 500,000, so they may indicate to you by a counter offer that I am not budging much. So they may counter with 495,000. In other words, if you want my house, you need to get your coins up. And that game can go back and forth, you know, 1 or 2 times until they either meet in the middle or the purchaser realizes I just can't get up there.
Yes. So that's the difference. One, and then there's a counter offer to it, and then until we come to a conclusion, and then that's the final offer. That's when offer comes back into play.
Offer.
All right, good, got it there. And then there's under offer and under contract.
Correct. So under offer means I have accepted, we've reached an agreement, Pearson, on a figure of 480,000. So we deem that the property is now under offer. But you now have to go and try to get your financing in order. So you run to the bank with your little paper saying, look, she said she would accept my offer of 480,000. Can you hurry up and tell me if you can give me the money? Now, I, as the seller, being sensible and knowing that in these times you may take forever, I have had a clause on that offer letter saying I am giving you 2 to 3 weeks to come up with the deposit, or at least get to the attorney stage or something like that, so that if you don't, I can pursue this cash buyer to my left who is knocking on my door violently. Under contract now means that as the seller, my attorney has prepared the sale agreement, sent it off to your attorney. Your attorney says everything is fine and requests the 10% deposit from you and tells you to sign here, here, and here. Now we have a signed sale agreement, so the property is under contract and technically totally off the market. Cannot be sold to another person at this stage.
Yes. As is sounds as though, you know what, here it is, you either take it or leave it, as is. Would I be correct in my definition?
That is pretty much it. So you will find that applies to a lot of the properties that are probably slightly under market value, have some fixer-upper status going on. As is means, look, you are seeing it with a big hole in the roof, no electricity on, no tiles, and the foundation looks questionable. Do not ask me as the seller to do anything. If you want this house, I'm already giving it almost at a 40% discount. It is as it is. Now, here's the deal. At the time that the offer is made for the property, that is what is determined as is. That what you saw when you made that offer. Okay? I've had a situation recently where someone made an offer for an as-is property, and then Elsa happened. So when Elsa came now and ripped up the roof and volcanic ash choked up the swimming pool, that was not the as-is status that it was seen when the offer was accepted. So the possibility is that either you could go back to you could go back to the vendor and renegotiate, or you could say, look, I don't want to pursue this anymore, and you're not penalized. Depending on the stage that it's at.
I got you. Due diligence, do your homework, check it out. Basically, that's what due diligence is, right?
And you're often given a little time period for that. And some persons might come back and say, look, we discovered a whole termite trail on the 2nd floor. And yet again, they can choose to renegotiate or exit the deal. So always do your due diligence. And sometimes you're given a period of time to get that sorted.
All right, we don't have a lot of time to look at closing and closing costs. So very quickly, closing and closing costs.
Closing is the end of the sale when all the documents are signed, the bank is about to release its money, and you are getting your keys. And closing costs pretty much have to do with all that surrounds that. So insurance, land tax, real estate agent fees, anything outstanding tied to the closing up of the sale.
The deal. All right. Agent Sharita, as always, thank you for reporting, ma'am. We're over and out. We'll catch you again next week. God spare life indeed. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. Agent Sharita there looking at real estate with us. We're 18 minutes now to go to 8 o'clock. Still to come, your chance to interact with our fitness guy, Thornwood. We'll be taking your calls. They tell me the phone lines have been resolved, and so we can now open them up again to you. So stand by for that opportunity to give us a call to pose your questions to Thorn. But social media, what's happening in the land of social media today that we need to let you know about? A few things we want to remind you of. If you don't already know, we want to tell you about, such as the Walk for Lupus. I know you know of the medical condition known as lupus, but there's a breakfast walk for lupus happening on the 11th of September at 6 in the morning. The Drill Hall Beach in Hastings, Christchurch is where it's going to be. And it starts at 6 in the morning, where it will end at the Drill Hall Beach. Contact the Hope Foundation, you may, at 437-8781. 437-8781. You see it on your screen there. The journey you will take in that walk for lupus. And the Hope Foundation was established, as you know, to give patients with lupus, sickle cell anemia, and arthritis a voice to influence change and influence policy. So it looks like a relatively short walk, but that walk is yours, and certainly we want to encourage you as many as possible to sign up to Walk for Lupus. 437-8781. Also, we've been telling you about this, the Junior Chef Cook-Off competition, part of the Food and Rum Festival for 2022, hosted by the one and only Peter Eady, and it's under the theme Feed the Future, and we're so excited, they are too, to give 2 young Barbadians between 16 and 21 years old the chance to pursue their culinary studies at the Jean and Norma Holder Institute with full scholarships. Now, the deadline for your submissions, the deadline for you to enter, is the 8th of September. Today it's the 6th of September. Yes, it is the 6th of September, and the cost to enter is absolutely free. You need to go to the website foodandrum.com to register. Good luck to those of you entering. Also, the National Cultural Foundation is hosting a number of free workshops. There are a number of free workshops to unearth the talent within the National Cultural Foundation's beginner community training program in theatre, dance, landship, and stick licking. Now, those community training programs are totally free, open to all ages. And to take advantage, you need to train with these experienced professionals in the fields. There's Kenneth Jack Lewis, Akeem Chandler Prescott, Adrian Green, Carol Brathwaite, Dr. Philip Ford, Raheem Cox, Leslie Seal, and a whole lot more. Now, how do you do so? You go to the website ncf.bb to register, ncf.bb. You may call Alicia Payne Hurley at 417-6633 or Renee Taylor at 417-6626. You have until the 9th of September to do your registration. So congratulations and good luck to you. But I cannot forget Walk the Talk. How dare I forget Walk the Talk, that charitable activity that happens every Sunday. It has started last Sunday from Ragged Point to the Concord Experience at the Grantley Adams International Airport. This Sunday, we're walking now from the Grantley Adams International Airport to the CBC. Walk the Talk. And you need to donate $25 for a t-shirt. T-shirts will be on sale here in the car park of the CBC Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday from 3 to 7 p.m. and also on Saturday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. $25. And those t-shirts will really be outfitted to you to be on the road this coming Sunday from the Concord experience to the CBC. Next week, we're leaving the CBC, heading to Lancaster, and then the final week from Lancaster to the Darrell Jordan School. Your support of this is absolutely critical as they continue to raise funds to help those in need. You can also bring along a non-perishable item to place in the box right here when you do your donation, when you join the walk as well on Sundays. That's what's happening in social media space. What's happening in studio? Thornwood will join us to take your calls after this break. We are 12 minutes now to go to the hour of 8 o'clock. You have 12 minutes. Don't waste them. Give us a call, 228-5562 or 228-5563. We have the one and only Thornwood who can resolve some of your questions about fitness and good health. Good morning to you, Thorn.
Good morning, Pearson. How you doing, man?
Wonderful. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. You had a good weekend. I heard you was doing some burpees and backflips over the weekend.
I don't know who you heard that from, but whoever you heard that from, telling stories. But nonetheless, is there a difference between fitness and, what's the other word? It just gone from my head completely. I'm getting old. Those burpees got me good.
Need some ginkgo biloba.
Yeah, I perhaps do. But define it for a lot of people, because a lot of times we misunderstand what fitness is truly about.
So that's a very peculiar and interesting question. And I think it differs from person to person. For me specifically, fitness is about improving overall quality of life, right? And I constantly stress on that because some of us get too caught up with the byproducts. Or I always say, weight loss is a byproduct of good programming, or building muscle, and etc. So these are the byproducts of you necessarily doing the right thing for your body, which is getting involved in a program that is that is good essentially, and following a diet that is manageable, something that you can do for the long term. So not just jumping on a diet that's going to make you feel like, oh no, I can't eat X, I can't eat Y, I'm going to eat, I don't know, broccoli and carrots for the next 7 days because I'm trying to lose 30 pounds. So it's about improving overall quality of life.
And I like the simplicity with which you've defined it. You're absolutely right. To be able to, it's just to get all of your motor skills intact, and to be able to do it and not have to suffer the pain of not being able to do it. That's what we're talking about. Give us a call, folks, 228-5562 or 228-5563. What is it that you're struggling in your fitness journey? What is it that you're having a challenge being able to do? And how can you actually do so? How can a trainer really help you? If you have any question, any query, any particular concern about this, Thornwood is here. He can answer all, if not any of those questions. So 228-5562 or 228-5563. I don't have all the questions. You do too for yourself. You meet, you talk, you ask. And I'm saying, ask Thorn, ask it yourself. So ask him yourself now by calling us on 228-5562 or 228-5563. So fitness is a journey. Fitness is an experience, and it's not intended necessarily to bulk you, but it's also to be in tandem with a whole host of other lifestyle changes, shouldn't it?
Yeah, most definitely. It really depends on what you're trying to aim to do, or what you want to see your body to. So yes, there will be some people who want to be bodybuilders and put on a huge set of mass, but then there are also people who wants to be like a swimmer, or somebody who wants to be a rock climber. All of them having some element of fitness, but that doesn't mean that they all correlate with each other. The programming is going to be very different, I can assure you, for a rock climber than it is for a bodybuilder, because the goal is different. So you got to start thinking about, what do I want my body to do? How do I want my body to feel like? And there's no, the way fitness is going now, I'm sure you've been seeing people on social media within their 60s, 70s, some of them in their 80s still weightlifting, some of them doing Olympic weightlifting, that kind of stuff. And obviously there's some measure of training that leads up towards where they're at now. But you can start, I just say that to say that you can start at any time. It doesn't matter what age you are. So I see most of the people, when they go into town, we use the man for Mornin Barbados talking about fitness and things. And it's like, yes, I am. Man, how I can start moving and stuff like that? So you just need to start. You know, it's whether you start with walking or running, you just be cognizant of where you're at in your journey, and you start there and you build on that. And that's essentially what we call in fitness. That's a progressive overload over time. But I'm glad that we have the opportunity to open the phone lines for people to call, because along with that, we are now working, Caliphate, we're now working on a fitness app.
We have a phone call coming through. Good morning to you. Hello.
Good morning to you, gentlemen.
Welcome, sir. What's your question for Thorn?
Yes, Thorn. My question is, how does an ectomorph eat and train for mass, and how would isometric training be involved in order for strength gains?
He calls it words I don't have a clue about.
So ectomorph is a
these things. Pearson, you have got the words that you could look at them and know how to outscribe them. Outscribe them by words.
All right, so I will let Thorn help. I will let Thorn help me with that. But thanks.
I actually feel like I know who this person is, right? Okay. So ectomorph is a body type. I know usually people do say that you train towards your specific body type. I personally use isometric training to really bridge the gap between between weights and how much load you're going to add. So like for instance, if I am trying to take somebody, let's say from 100 pounds in a squat to like 150, I find the isometric training works well with that to bridge that gap and improve their strength. So therefore, if you're carrying more load, then you can recruit more motor units, and then the result of building more muscle, it can happen over that time. So my method is that the stronger you are, the more that you can do.
Okay.
I hope that helps your question.
Yes, it does. So what about eating? What types of foods do you incorporate into your diet? And I hear they said that a bodybuilder eats 6 to 7 times a day, but small meals and that sort of stuff. And basically think you should separate, well, I don't know, but if you're building mass as opposed to building like weight gain, as opposed to like getting weight gain dead to sculpt, what would you recommend? As opposed to just going straight into building muscle.
The thing about that is that, like, again, with that it gets very specific, and that's in my opinion, and that's with the dietitians that I've worked with as well. I give nutritional advice when it comes to diets, but I always refer someone to the professional who can handle it. But I will say that if you are aiming to build mass, then you obviously want to get your macronutrients in. You obviously want an increase in protein over time. I've seen some people use creatine to help improve their training and build mass that over time. Usually you don't get people building up while doing more or less what we call a lean bulk, because it's quite hard to do that, especially you can mess it up with your programming. So usually you don't get people doing both. But you get people separating them, where they would build at one point in time and then they would lean out, coming on later on, depending on how close you're getting to competition time, right? In terms of your food choices, well, that is definitely between you and your dietitian, because you want to pick something that's manageable. And honestly, even from my competition days, it don't really be manageable. It don't really be manageable. That's why it's not sustainable. And most athletes will tell you that, because like I remember, and I wasn't even as sharp as some of the other guys. I mean, I still got a little second on my belt there, so you know. But I remember like a week out from a competition, I was on like rice crackers and ice. Because you're trying to push out as much. You're trying not to put in too much water, but you're still trying to stay hydrated. And you're trying not to eat anything that creates any bloating that would allow you not to look sharp any longer. So I know you're not going to go about the place eating rice crackers and ice on a Sunday, right? So it's not sustainable. So it depends on your programming, and depends on how do you want your body to look, on the results essentially that you want to see. I hope that answers your question.
So, I think he's gone. But thank you for that call. I would like to hear what was your fitness regime, sir. And that's the whole point. You know, I'm glad for the call, because the call allows us now to really stop and look for a second at how we use what we consume to aid us in our ability to become fitter. Because oftentimes we assume once I've done my 15 minutes of cardio and all the rest of it, I'm fit. But then we fill up with junk as well, and hope that in no way affected what I would have done previously.
Yeah, I always relate food to fuel. That's what it is, right? You're not going to put diesel on a gas car, or you're not going to look for the dirtiest gas to put inside your car. So why would you do that with your body, which, you know, dare say is more important than your car? At least I would hope you believe that, right? So you try as much as possible to look for, you know, high nutrient and high quality foods to consume, to put into your body. You know what I mean? This thing is a machine, and you want to get the best quality product to put into the machine so it can perform at its best.
And you know, as you would with your car, you also want to make sure that all of the parts are working right. So from time to time, you head into the mechanic's shop for a little bit of a checkup. That's where your fitness instructor also comes in. Your fitness instructor will help you to be able to say, you know what, perhaps your joints are not quite moving the way that they ought to. Let me help you with some routines that can actually help you to do so at any age. And that's the whole point. I like what you said earlier. One can find a fitness regime at any age, and at any stage. Take it from me.
Yep, taking that information into consideration. At any age, any stage, you should be able to do that. Just like I had a fitness mentor who told me one time that a good trainer can train you with anything, and that includes nothing. So even if you don't have any tools or anything, and that person has a body, you should be able to create a workout regime for them to start. So that's the same thing with the learning curve. There's a beginner's circle. Just because you see me doing handstand push-ups and backflips and back handsprings doesn't mean that I'm going to start you with handstand push-ups and back springs. And
you got that right, because you do that by yourself. I tell you no.
Right, so there is a learning curve, and you can start at any day. I know for most people, as they get older, they go, you know, well, I can't do that, or that kind of. It's all about, and if you go to an assessment and a person effectively identifies my motto, which is what do you need, what do you have, and what don't you have, then you'll be absolutely fine.
So what we do have, folks, is Thornwood. Thornwood is accessible to you via email, WhatsApp. He's also available to you on Instagram and the like. So remind him of your handles quickly, Thorn.
Yeah, you can reach us at CaliFit246. That's CALIFIT 246. That's on Facebook, Instagram. I will be talking to you guys about the app in the next coming weeks, because we are really aiming to promote health and wellness and get you guys moving. I promise you it's going to be absolutely fun.
All right, we'll talk about that next week then, should it be God's will. Thank you so much, Thorn. All the best to you today and every day. That's it for today, everybody. Thank you, too, for joining us here at Morning Barbados. Thanks to my team, my producer, Nadia Foster, technical director, Ruel Ford at Sound, Michael Sobers, and Master Control, the mistress of them all, Tamisha Green. I'm Pearson Boyne. For all of them, to each of you, we say thank you and good morning. We'll see you tomorrow.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up.
Who's that?
Good morning. Good morning, Barbados.